Welcome to August, the most painful month ever. What? I'm serious. Being a motorsport fan, especially F1, is painful in this time of the year. It was the time where everything shuts down. No racing, no news, and nothing to talk about. Summer break may seem like a fun idea, but when you think about being a Ferrari fan, well, those fun just dissipates into thin air. So what do? Well, I could do that, but I feel like taking my car and drive somewhere else. I mean, there's Outrun, but I don't want to be a Ferrari fan for the time being. I'm craving for a racing game where I drift around a tropical city with some techno music. I think I know what to do. Over the years, not only I talk about games from Sega, Taito, and Konami, I also talk about Namco, one of the biggest gaming company from the 80s all the way to the late 2000s. Sega with Outrun, Taito with Bubble Bobble, Konami with Gradius, and Namco did not go quietly into the night as well. Sega made another masterpiece that is Daytona USA. 3D polygon at its finest, and Namco responded it as well.
Is powered by Namco. It's Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer! Remember that one?
Ridge Racer, first released in the arcade in October of 1993, just 6 months after the initial release of Daytona. Like I said, a direct response to Sega. Their rivalry was so fierce that people start comparing Daytona and Ridge. I'm sorry though, but I don't see the similarity between two. Like, one is a satisfying racing game with high energy soundtrack, and the latter is also satisfying, albeit with slower pace. Of course, Daytona USA is the clear winner. Why did they even compare it? I don't know. All I know is that Ridge Racer is a race winner on another aspect. Around the time Ridge Racer was drifting around, a new challenger is approaching, presenting the Sony PlayStation that would take the world by storm. Unfazed by the ambitious but rubbish Saturn. During that time, Sony acquired supports from Namco, Konami, and Williams Entertainment, just to name a few, to work on their new system. Namco at that time was also competing with Sega, so of course they want to double down. Thus, they didn't hesitate to work with Sony. Development began on April 1994, and they faced some difficulties such as having to rework on the game to make it compatible with the system, which is the biggest issue. By December, the game was 70% completed, albeit with lower frame rate and less details. The game was one of the many launch titles first released on December 3rd, 1994 in Japan. Well, the series will be turning 30 in October. But because October is only reserved for me to talk about title games, I think you might as well do it right now. Then again, my birthday is coming up as well, so there's nothing else important right now other than celebrating our birthday early, am I right? Even the dog agrees, I told you. Anyway, put in the game, let's begin. Oh hello, Galaxian? Wow, the game is already giving me a birthday gift. Thanks a lot, Namco. Upon starting up the game, you will notice you unlock a bunch of cars from the minigame earlier. Wow, Even more gifts from Namco. Realistically, there were just two types of cars. Not Mitsubishi Eclipse and not Lamborghini Countach. And the latter really sucks. Eclipse is always the best. You got beginner, mid-level, high level, and time trial. So let's start with the basic drill. Ridge Racer behaves like a typical racing game. X to accelerate, square to brake, and D-pad to control the car. Being Ridge Racer though, there will be different technique to drive. Ridge Racer signature dish is all about drifting around every corners and coming out unscathed. A little different from Daytona. Sounds complicated? Because it is. I'll be honest, I for one was never able to understand this game. Back then, I would drift everywhere and crash everywhere. I played for like few hours and then just gave up. Then a few years later, I heard lots of good things about Ridge Racer Type 4. Controls are better, soundtracks are amazing, and the visual is impressive. I ended up playing lots of it before heading back to the first dilemma, and I was ready to get myself rear-ended. And guess what? The opposite happened. For some reason, for some unholy reason, I was suddenly being good at this game. I was able to drive around and was able to finish first in each races, and it was at that point that I really understood about the core mechanic. This is how you actually play the game. When you approach a corner, you can either let go the gas or tap on the brake, while at the same time turning the steering wheel to initiate a drift. Both ways are effective to pull off any drifts on the track, and upon exiting a corner and attempting to stop drifting, your car would be swerving left and right, aka fishtailing, to regain full control of the car to be straight again. If you're not straight, you need to get good. Why? See, whenever you're fishtailing, you will be so desperate to get back the speed and ends up making a big mistake. If you didn't let go the accelerator, your car would stall and loses a huge chunk of speed. And as you play each tracks, you will also have to adjust your drifting skills to even stand a chance. And cars like the Countach can make you really suffer. It constantly drifts around, not giving you any time to think about what to do. It really sucks. Eclipse is the best car. Sometimes while you're fishtailing, you also need to pay attention to your surrounding, as sometimes when you stall, you have the tendency to run straight into the wall, losing even more speed, which brings me to the physics. The physics hasn't really aged well after 3 decades. Yes, the steering is well coded. Yes, the drifting is fluid. But the other aspects are anything but. Whenever you hit the wall, your car comes to an almost halt, as if the wall themselves have some kind of magnet that attract you to them. Not as bad as the one in Racing Lagoon though, where you come to a dead stop, but bad enough to make you lose the race and having to restart. When you try to overtake some rivals and accidentally slams into them, they seem to be going sideways and then drives away like nothing ever happened. Seriously, what is this? It's so bad that it's so funny. And that's basically the controls and physics of Ridge Racer itself. A far cry compared to what we would see in later installments. Ridge Racer walked so that Type 4 could drift. You know what else both games couldn't compete? Visuals. It is so obvious that it's inferior compared to arcade counterparts. The game not only ran at half the frame rate, there were also tons of pop-in of objects in the background. There were also tons of particles appearing around the surroundings, just to name a few. But remember, consoles that time will never be as good as arcade machine, and you always have to head to the arcade to play the best games. So when the game hits home, running at a solid frame rate is still impressive. There were no bizarre moments that held the game back. Everything on screen still functioned as usual. Very impressive for a launch title. I guess that's why people even compare both in the first place. Daytona Uncertain looks terrible, and Ridge Racer looks really good. The draw distance did not age well at all, but let's be honest, did those stuff ruin your gameplay? Will you stop playing because of the poor draw distance? Honestly, if you have memorization of the track itself, you don't even need to rely on what's coming ahead. It's in your brain, so you know what to do. But of course, the last issue is the one that I will agree. Traveling down the road, staring into the mirage ahead, noticing some graphical issue really show you the reality that the game in some way never aged well. So far, we have bad physics along with bad visuals, but there's one thing that saved the game. That of course is a soundtrack. While I'm not a big fan of techno genre, I gotta admit the music are passable for my liking. It certainly fits well with the tropical atmosphere theme of this game. Shinji Hosoe composed for many games such as Q-Star, Under Defeat, and this. As for Ridge Racer, he got his hands busy as well, composing some of the most memorable tunes for the game. But this one right here, I'm sorry, I hate it. The soundtracks will never top Daytona, but it's still good enough to be welcome here. Oh, so you say you hate it? Well, don't worry, as you can take the disc out and play something else. Due to the fact that the game is so small, it was able to fit within PlayStation 1 system memory. So next time you want to start the game and take out the disc, well, there you go. The future is now. Well, for starter, there's only 2 tracks in the content. Track 1, beginner friendly. From the get-go, you start a beginner where everything is slow. So slow that you have to actively suck to even lose. 2 laps around Seaside Route 765 with easy AI, and that's it. Next up, mid-level. 3 laps around the same place with tougher AI. Oh yeah, there's also weather transition, adding immersiveness while also making you feel like a race queen, drifting around with style. Wait, what do you mean there's this girl called Reiko? Seaside Route 765 served its purposes to let the newcomer know what to expect in this drifting world, because next up is where everything becomes serious. Track 2, I regret driving here. Presenting Rich City, the next track that appears on high level, and it really means it. Upon exiting the tunnel, you would then turn left right away and head into this tight section. You will, and I mean you will, hit every single walks or try to figure out what just happened. Due to the narrow nature, you can bet that every other rival will just drive past you, laughing at your own failure. Finish 3 laps and that's it for high level. On to the last one, which is arguably easier. Time trial, where you only have one rival to worry about. How hard can it be? Finish first and the credits roll, and congratulations, you just beat Ridge Racer at home. After all these years, I finally beat this game. Yes! Haha! Time to turn off the console. Wait, what? Extra mode? That's right, Namco even added extra content to keep the players playing. Something that Manx Superbike failed to do. This time you race reverse. Well, this doesn't look too hard at all. How hard can it be? Oh no. Well, I'm done. And that's my review on Ridge Racer on PlayStation 1. Looking back, I'm still impressed with this game. It has been 30 years since Ridge Racer came out, and no one can deny the impact of this little game. Sure, there are tons of shortcomings like dated visuals and questionable physics, but other than that, there were no other problems within the game. Despite having only 8 months of development to be released as a launch title, Namco still put in some great amount of work into the project. Not just that, Namco also showed the world the endless possibilities of Sony's very own machine, and they would remain to do so for a couple new consoles down the road. As for Ridge Racer, this is merely a beginning. Ridge Racer would then receive a sequel and 2 other sequels. Overall, Ridge Racer is a fine game. Maybe try Type 4 and then go back to this, and you will like it. Alright, there's that. I not only celebrated my own birthday, but also celebrated Ridge Racer's birthday. I mean, I already celebrated PSP birthday back then, so this is not weird. Well, I guess that's it. I ate my invisible cake, blew some candles, and had some fun. So what's next? Well, you know what that means. Bedtime. Got nothing to do though, so I'm sure I'll be okay when I wake up. Thanks for watching.